Welcome to TrialSite News Weekly Roundup. Today in our episode, we'll be focusing on two related and disturbing stories, both taking place in South Africa. The first is about South African authorities raiding a hospital in search of ivermectin. We'll talk about what is going on there, and then we'll discuss how ivermectin is smack dab in the middle of growing political tensions in South Africa. And so, from TrialSite News, I'm Adrian, and the Weekly Roundup starts now. So, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, or SAHPRA, is following through with their threat of criminal liability for the use of ivermectin. Now, as we here at TrialSite News have reported, SAHPRA recently banned the importation of ivermectin, even for hospitals or physicians seeking to treat ill COVID-19 patients. Now, unlike many other African nations where the drug is approved for both humans and animals, this isn't the case in South Africa. The authorities are treating the commonly used antiparasitic drug as a controlled substance, going so far as to raid a private Durban hospital that tipsters had claimed brought ivermectin into the country for purposes of prescriptions. A criminal case was opened after police and SAHPRA officials raided the facility known as Ahmed Al-Kadi. Now, according to reports, the raid was led by the regulatory authority's Eugen Gunden, who claimed he had proof of its existence but couldn't find any contraband there. Now, according to local media, South Africa's East Coast Radio, Gunden declared that we acted on the information we received, that ivermectin had been prescribed and dispensed at this hospital. We questioned the responsible pharmacist as well as the hospital manager, and both confirmed that somebody had dropped a parcel with this drug, apparently a doctor, and they dispensed it. Gunden went on to say that to SAHPRA, this was not only irresponsible and unprofessional for both the pharmacist and the medical doctor involved, so SAHPRA has decided to pursue a criminal case. Meanwhile, Ibrahim Asmal, the hospital manager, issued a formal statement confirming that SAHPRA officials had visited the provider's facility, but that there was no ivermectin found. The hospital has referred the matter of SAHPRA's criminal pursuit to their attorneys. Now, despite SAHPRA's official stance, demand for ivermectin has intensified in the African nation, which has been hit hard by COVID-19. And so, just days ago, a 43-year-old man from Durban was stopped while entering the country. And according to reports, he had 2,500 ivermectin tablets in his carry-on luggage, was then arrested for breaking this new law, and has already appeared before the Verulam Magistrates Court. Now, SAHPRA's draconian stance against this well-known drug and criminal enforcement is risking further alienating the population, who is looking for an answer during this pandemic. Especially since the nation of South Africa has not even yet finalized any vaccine deals. Even when it becomes available for them, according to the latest estimates, it would probably take a full year to get the entire nation vaccinated, which is a deeply troubling situation. Now, before we deep dive into this next related story taking place in South Africa, we will remind everybody that there is no definitive proof yet for ivermectin. But there is meta-analysis that demonstrates considerable evidence, and we here at TrialSite News have suggested for many months now that Western governments conduct tests to at least assess the potential for the lower-cost generic approach to treating COVID-19 in conjunction with vaccination and other novel approaches such as laboratory-designed monoclonal antibodies. Now, this takes us to the second part of the episode, where ivermectin is in the middle of growing political tensions in South Africa. There are three players here that I'll mention: the National Freedom Party, or the NFP, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, or SAHPRA, which I've already mentioned, and South Africa's Health Minister, Zweli Mkhize. Now, as we here at TrialSite News reported about the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority and their decision to reject ivermectin for treatment of COVID-19, it seemed coincidental to us after a recent presentation about the meta-analysis evaluating ivermectin studies in association to COVID-19 at the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee here in the U.S. It seems strange that SAHPRA's response was to threaten anybody that imported the drug with jail. And this also raised the ire of the South African political party known as the National Freedom Party, or the NFP, who were perturbed that a well-known economical generic drug used throughout much of Africa to fight parasites had been banned for importation in that country with the threat of criminal prosecution. SAHPRA's draconian approach has raised many eyebrows. And so we have asked, why not verify the growing number of studies with a clinical trial? Which we should note that SAHPRA did indeed update their guidelines to include ivermectin for research, saying that the meta-analysis concluded that the use of ivermectin in the management of COVID-19 infections is associated with faster time to viral clearance, shorter duration of hospitalization, and higher rates of clinical recovery, and some improvement in survival rates. However, the meta-analysis also concluded that additional randomized clinical trial data were needed to confirm clinical benefit in COVID-19 infections, as well as define an optimized dosing regimen. But despite this updated statement, the threat of jail remained. And so the NFP is threatening imminent legal action, making the case that the drug should be properly reviewed by medical authorities and rolled out to its citizenry as a therapy while they await vaccination. They argue that it can be used for the 90% that haven't yet been vaccinated to protect them from getting sick in the meantime. Meanwhile, South Africa's Health Minister Zweli Mkhize reported that the country has signed up with COVAX, the global pool that helps developing nations obtain vaccine products. They seek to immunize the majority of the population, but that won't even be achieved until the end of 2021, which is quite a while to have to wait. To which the NFP points out that with the worst COVID-19 situation in the continent, a lot of death can be avoided while awaiting a vaccine to reach everyone. Now, SAHPRA has justified their banning of ivermectin's importation and making it a criminal offense for anyone who tries, even just doctors trying to save patient lives. The reasoning is that ivermectin is not indicated nor approved by SAHPRA for use in humans, that there is no confirmatory data on ivermectin available as yet for its use on the management of COVID-19 infections. And so, for now, ivermectin is the center of a political conflict, with the South African party seeking to challenge law established by the South African health regulator. According to Siviwe Makitha from Independent Online, they have hired some well-known lawyers named Subrayan Naidu attorneys. They point out that not only is the COVAX vaccine expensive, but it has yet to even be approved by SAHPRA. The NFP and its affiliates have slammed the health minister for incompetence in the COVID-19 vaccine rollout strategy, blaming the government for dragging its feet in vaccine procurement. And so, a recent oppositional spokesperson from the COSATU, Sizwe Pamela, stated that what the minister presented is bunk, and the country should not accept it. South Africans are familiar with the egregious policy failures, with deadly consequences, as we saw with the mismanagement of the AIDS pandemic. Pamela went on to essentially declare the government of simply engaging in public relation exercises. Now, in defense of the South African government, many other governments were also caught flat-footed in this whole pandemic situation. And so the question has been raised. How could a common drug used in many parts of Africa with a well-known safety profile be at the center of such political controversy? We say welcome to the world of power, politics, and drugs, where the confluence of human material interests and healthcare has been provoked and greatly exaggerated by this pandemic. Truly, it is a troubling situation, and of course we will be continuing to keep you posted on this and other stories from around the world on the COVID-19 situation. And that, my friends, brings our episode to a close. As always, we greatly appreciate you spending time with us, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. From TrialSite News, I'm Adrian, and this has been the Weekly Roundup.